The issue is that we're not building enough homes for every single person who wants to buy one. We often hear the term bubble thrown around when discussing real estate in the GTA, more so than ever in this insanely hot market. In fact, I've heard this word consistently every single year since I've been in this industry. In this video, we're going to talk about how prices got to be the way they are today and what would have to happen in order for the market to really cool back down again. Make sure you stick around to the end because I'm going to share with you what I truly think is the solution to this very heated market. Let's start off with how we got here. So it's the low interest rates fueled by the pandemic that's really sparked our market to the heights that we're seeing today. So as soon as news of the pandemic broke, banks cut their interest rates, Bank of Canada cut their overnight rate in an attempt to keep the economy afloat. The repercussions of this is a high level of inflation, as well as many people taking on more debt in the form of a second or third or fourth property to take advantage of the low interest rates. The second thing that's really gotten our market to where it is today is the booming growth in population. So this is not something new since the beginning of the pandemic. This is actually a long-term trend that we've seen over the past 10 or 15 years where our population has been absolutely exploding here in the GTA. And the third thing is the lack of housing, especially affordable housing, which puts a lot of pressure on that entry-level price point as people are fighting hand over fist to get something in this market. So now that we've kind of figured out how we got here, let's talk a little bit about what would have to happen in order for the quote-unquote bubble to burst. I've outlined three things here, and I'm going to start off with number one, a significant increase in interest rates. So what this would do is put home ownership out of reach for many, and potentially in some circumstances, it might even make a home that a person currently owns unaffordable. And this could lead to default and foreclosure. Now, we're expecting to see several rate increases over the next year, which I actually think is going to be a good thing for the market. The rates right now are at rock bottom, and I think that a little bit of an increase will help stabilize the market slightly. But let's not forget, in Canada, we have this thing called the stress test on all residential mortgage applications. And what this means is that the bank is going to qualify you at the higher of 2% more than the current rate that you're signing, or the qualifying rate, or 5.25%. And since interest rates are so low right now, we're seeing interest rates in the anywhere from 1.5 to 3%. Usually the higher the two numbers is the 5.25%. So let's just say you're signing a mortgage today for 1.6%. The bank is actually going to be qualifying you at 5.25 just to make sure that if the payments are increased, you'll still be able to afford your mortgage. Because of this, I think that we need to see a relatively significant rise in the interest rates before they would have a large effect on cooling the market. I don't think that a few small increases are going to be enough to do the trick. They might slow it down slightly, but they won't be enough to fully cool it off. The second thing that would lead to a bubble being bursted, quote unquote again, is a downturn in economic activity, which would lead to less disposable income, job loss, fewer jobs available, and obviously it would decrease the overall demand for housing. Now, this is totally possible, but I think we have to remember how strong our housing market has stayed, even during the meltdown and economic issues caused by the COVID pandemic. I think it's really a testament of how strong our real estate market really is. And now, if you look at a graph of the GTA housing market over the past 15 or 20 years, you'll probably only see one or two little blips in it. The first one was in 2009 when we had the economic meltdown in the US, which caused a bit of a recession. That was a small blip in the graph, and then things started to increase quite rapidly about a year and a half or 2 years later. And the second blip that you might see happened in 2017 when the government put in the foreign buyer tax. So I think that the fact that our market has stayed strong even through some of these changes is a testament to how strong our real estate market. The third thing that would have to happen to really cool down our market would be if demand is exhausted. Now, this might be caused by something like Ontario no longer being a desirable place to live, our population declining, or a major supply increase happens that demand is not able to keep up to. So I can't personally see any signs of this happening in the near future. Ontario remains an extremely desirable place to live, and under the current plan, Canada is looking to welcome about 411,000 new immigrants in the country in 2022 and about 421,000 new people in 2023. We also have to remember that these numbers don't take into account our own natural population growth that we're seeing within our current population. So when I look at these current projections, the possibility of our demand becoming exhausted definitely does not look like a strong possibility in the near future. Now, I think that if one of these three things happens, demand becoming exhausted, an economic downturn, or a large increase in interest rates, if we just see one of those things happen, I think that's going to be enough to cool the market off. It might not actually put it in a downward cycle yet, but I think it'll be enough to make it plateau, and I think it would cool it down. If two of these things happen, I think that's when we're actually going to see a little bit of a downward trend in the market. If two of these three things were to happen, if all three of them were to happen and it was a bit of a perfect storm, I think that this is the point when we would see a spiraling downward trend. So if we're not clearly and decisively in a bubble, what is the solution to all this? How do we get out of this extremely hot marketplace? And the answer to that lies in supply. So for years, the government has been fighting our supply issue with demand tactics, such as implementing the foreign buyer tax in the stress test. However, these have all had temporary effects. So the reason why they're temporary and they don't completely work is because they're using demand tactics on a supply issue, and it's just not working in the long term. These tactics aim to dampen all the demand that we're seeing, but they do nothing to increase the supply and put more affordable housing out on the market for everyone who needs a home to live in. With our incredible population growth that we've seen over the past 10 or 15 years, it's understandable that we have a lot of demand. The issue is that we're not building enough homes for every single person who wants to buy one. So I'm going to throw this interesting thought out there. Maybe we're actually not in a bubble. Maybe, given this current level of demand that we're seeing, our market is just playing catch up from the huge lack of supply that we've been seeing for many years here in the GTA. And if this is the case, we need to get serious about finding ways to increase the housing supply to support the massive need for home ownership. But hey, maybe this is not the case. I want to know what you think. I'm genuinely curious. Please leave a comment down below. Remember, if you want to chat further with me about real estate, all you have to do is hit the link below in the description, and you can book a buyer or seller consultation with me. Or if you just want to chat about the market, I'm always happy to do that too. Whatever you want to chat about, I look forward to connecting with you. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any of my new real estate content, and I will see you next time.